Thursday. It's not hump day, it is Thursday. And oh my God, there you go. You
What
disappeared.
happened to me?
You
What I
disappeared.
turned into a sheet of data. You know, if I in the old days, in the college days, this would be Thirsty Thursday.
There you go. So now I have to. This is so sad. Blah
You can
blah
do it. You
blah.
want me to talk? Can you do it behind the scenes while I talk?
Yeah, but I can't see you. Ta-da!
Well, but oh, it's always going to me no matter what.
Yeah, it'll
Yeah.
be like,
Oh,
okay,
I
guys.
thought.
So we're gonna do this again. Because it worked a second ago, but now it doesn't want to. So here we go. Ba, 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 ba. Paul is gone, but then Paul is coming back. Like so. And as you're watching us today, we are going to be talking about that.
That's
This is
I'm
what
at
we're
least
going to talk
make an
about.
entrance if I have to go out and then come back, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Ta-da!
Listen,
Here you are.
that's it.
So what we wanted to share with you, we have a few things to share with you guys today that are amazing. One of them is, did you know that the first ever YouTube video was uploaded 15 years ago today? And we are going to show you what that video was. And we are going to talk about how life is changing. So let's start with how life is changing. Then we'll talk to you about the YouTube video. And then we're going to share with you how we're overcoming self doubt and how we're stepping out of our own way. And we want to hear from you. So, if you want to come in and talk with us about how you're getting out of your own way, or if you need any advice or anything like that, viralconnectivity.com/live, the same way that I was doing it, then this is
I'm
the
always
place,
terrible at the
right?
directions.
So this is the place. If you want to come talk to us, engage with us, hop on in. We'll talk about the first YouTube video, how life is changing, and how to get out of your own way. So let's start with how life is changing, Paul. How is life changing?
Well, so this is a funny thing. This came up today. You know, I live in New Hampshire,
Yep.
and you know, we're not a big state. We only have about 1.2 million people in the whole state, so we don't have a lot of colleges, but we do have several. And one of them, the Southern New Hampshire University, announced either yesterday or first thing this morning that they're making a pretty radical change to how they're going to conduct business next school year. So right now, like all the other colleges, they've sent all their students home and they're
Right.
doing telelearning, right? They're doing webinar-based learning. And so they've now announced that next year, I want to make sure I read this properly. Normally, I don't like to read when I'm doing some of these, but I don't want to sort of give false information. So they're going to cut their tuition 61% starting in the 2021-2022 academic year. So they're going ahead like 18 months, right? Like
Right.
But they're cutting it from 31,000 to 10,000 starting in 2021. And you go, well, what are they doing in the 2020 to 2021 year?
Right.
They're giving those students tuition free that year.
Okay, so next year is free?
Next, for the incoming students,
Yeah.
they're giving them their first year free.
Yeah.
And then they're going to 10,000 after that. And then I guess it's going to keep adjusting upward to some extent after that. The rationale being that with everything that's happened, they're embracing this idea that the old model may never fully come back.
Right.
But they know that that's not what the students who applied to be there applied with the understanding of. So that's why they're sort of saying, look, we're making this change and we know we're making it after we accepted you and you thought you were coming to get something else. So the first year is on us.
Nice.
And come try it out.
Yep.
And they're still working on what they're calling a hybridized approach between live in-person classes, in their dorm room classes, and even potentially at home online classes. They're exploring all kinds of different options. So they're saying they get this hybrid thing for the first year while the institution figures out what those models would really work like, right? and then they'll work it up from there. And, so say, make sure you really like what you're getting. And they're also saying, so even on announcing this, they're saying, if you're like, that's not what I signed up for, they'll refund their deposits and let them go elsewhere. No hard feelings. And I'm like, this is what we were talking about with Brian a couple episodes about, right? Of like, when institutions make these adjustments, they're naturally going to go, well, the world didn't end, so why would we just go back?
And what's really interesting to me about that is that it makes you wonder if you can cut your prices, your fees by 2/3, really, were they supposed to be this high to begin with? Or are you just kind of like...
I'll tell you, if I could tell you that as someone who used to work at a university, that's the game that they've almost all been playing for decades now, is the growth enrollment game, which is keep building more dormitories. Now they call them residence halls. In the old days, they called them dorms. Keep building more and more residence halls so that they can house more people, more dining halls, more academic buildings. It's this constant growth model that is completely unsustainable. I don't have an MBA, but all you got to do is be around it for a while to go, you can't just keep doing this forever. You can't. Otherwise, you're going to get to a point where like every person on the planet goes to college. And while that's a wonderful thing to think about in terms of helping people be educated, looking at how the world really works, that's just not going to happen. And so, you have all this infrastructure, you have all this overhead cost.
Don't freeze on me. Don't freeze on me. Don't freeze on me. Paul froze on me. There you go. You came back. You just froze on me. So say that again. We said we have all this infrastructure.
Yeah. So that's, that everyone always thinks, I think people in the general public tend to think about college, the cost of college being what you pay for the classes. That's tuition, right?
Yeah,
but it's not tuition. It's tuition, room, board, fees, so
books.
yeah.
So obviously, hopefully now we don't need books anymore, because like those $100 heavy books that you had to carry with you, now we know we don't need that stuff.
So what happens to the publishing companies that's their whole...
Well, but that was an antiquated model to begin with. If you just change one word, why do I have to go and spend $80 on a book?
And that's that kind of like, they're still riding horses. Meanwhile, cars are flying by. It's like at some point, maybe you need to stop with the horses.
You need to stop killing trees. My ideal, I was just thinking about this after our conversation. I was like, what would be my ideal scenario of learning, right? Because all the information is already out there, as we've seen, right? And the challenges is not access to information, is actually implementation, creativity, application. So I think like my ideal class of that will come out of this is everybody's coming together, Zoom, wherever, right, online. And then I don't need the teacher to teach me because the information is already out there. So here, everybody in breakout rooms, watch this video for like 10 minutes and then apply it, because you have to learn the information before you can apply it, right? So here's the video, here's the instructions. Now here's the mission that you have to do. Go build this thing, go apply it. And if you have questions, I'm the teacher here to guide you through this process. And now you're not like trying to memorize things that you have access to online, but you're learning how to use your brain to create stuff in the world, right? Imagination, creativity, all that jazz.
And imagine where it goes now that we're really getting serious about augmented reality stuff. Imagine we go back to the old Google Glass days. Imagine if you had an augmented reality unit, and like if you're a botany student, and instead of sitting in a class and looking at pictures on a screen, at points you go out with your augmented reality thing and you're classifying trees and plants, and you're really doing it. There's a lot of cool, if you're a med student and you're actually, instead of sitting in a classroom, you're actually already working and getting credit hours and experience hours at a facility, but you're also getting coached by an instructor. There's a lot of cool
really fantastic, right? So you don't actually have to go to class. You would go to class to socialize, right? But that doesn't have to be class. It can be like, I don't know, a club, play pool. I don't know, whatever, right?
Well,
but
it's
like,
funny.
Go play soccer or something.
When I was a teacher and I was doing my in-service training, the book that really made the most impression on me out of all the stuff that I read when I was in graduate school was almost 100 years old by John Dewey. And it was John Dewey's, he was talking about the way he looked at education.
Yeah.
And it was all stuff that he was talking about that we were re-exploring in the mid 90s. Like it was almost like new again. He was talking about stuff like students should be moving their bodies and working with their hands and like learning. You want to learn biology, go look at plants and how plants grow.
Right.
You want to learn mathematics, work on budgeting and fiscal analysis. And
Totally.
it was always experiential in the way he talked about it. And here we were in the mid 90s and they were all like, this Dewey guy's amazing. I'm like, yeah, he's dead. He's almost 100 years ago. Why
And
are
we're
we
still not
just
doing
talking
this.
about it now?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like we're still not doing this. I really hope that, after this crisis, our way of learning and, will completely change. There's no reason why kids should be sitting in class for hours and hours and hours. So our 10 minutes on this topic are gone.
10 minutes are done. Yeah.
Don't worry about that. So what we're going to share with you guys is this one. The first ever YouTube video was uploaded 15 years ago today, and we're going to show you that video. Brace yourselves. Because why are you laughing? So let me give you a little bit of a explanation to context to this video. So this guy, his name is Jod Karim, and he is the co-founder of YouTube. He posted that in April 23, 2005, and it is titled Me at the Zoo. And here is me at the zoo. Let's see. Zoo. Is it?
That's
No.
Dwayne Johnson's parents.
That's Dwayne Johnson's parents.
The Rock.
The Rock, is it? Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
the
his
Rock
mom and his
transformation.
dad. I don't know if that's him when he was little, but that's definitely.
So like I'm wondering now if this was playing in the background.
Oh, it skipped ahead. Yeah.
No, but like over all our conversation right now.
Oh gosh. Oh my
That
gosh.
that would be very
This
interesting.
would just that would officially be a shit show episode.
Even though we said like really amazing things today. Here is the YouTube video. Hold on,
All right, so
guys.
here we are.
Ta-da.
One of the,
It's very old, so I'm gonna make it bigger so you guys can see it. Ta-ta-tam, pa-pam, and full screen. And I'm gonna make sure that you guys hear it. So here it is.
Alright, so here we are, one of the elephants. Cool thing about these guys is that they have really, really, really long fronts, and that's cool. And that's pretty much all there is to say.
That was it. That was the first video ever on YouTube that was published today. It garnered 90 million views, which is kind of small for a 15-year-old video, isn't it?
Come on.
For a 15-year-old video?
Come on. I have
15
videos that are like almost that old and they're not even like, they don't even have like a million, never mind 90.
But like we have videos that have surpassed it in like,
Well, I know, but first of all, it's the most anticlimactic
it is.
video in history. The idea that that video has 90 million views
Yeah,
sort of
true.
makes me want to kill myself when I look at how much time and effort I've put into videos on YouTube.
It should give you an inspiration to be like, hey, I'm better than. Not
Sweet
as bad.
baby Jesus in the manger, 90 million views for that video.
But
And
it's
that-
only 18
and that-
seconds. 18
That
seconds.
guy, he and another dude made YouTube, and then they sold it to Sergey and what's his face at
So
Google?
a year later, they sold it to Google. They didn't sell it. Google came and bought it for $1.65 billion.
Shut up.
$1 billion for YouTube.
Shut up.
You know how much they made since? I don't know.
Who cares? They had $1.6 billion for years.
No. I mean, how much Google made with YouTube since they bought it?
Oh. Yeah, I guess, but how did $1.6 billion?
Back then, 15 years ago. So that was like,
These are those moments where I'm like, I'm a loser.
so here's the thing, right? Like we were talking about this. How can we, like you said, why am I not a programmer? And I was like, why don't we have a YouTube
Right?
idea? Right? Like, what's our next YouTube idea that will be like, ooh, buy me for
In
1.6?
fourth grade, Mrs. Richardson picked me out of all my classmates to be the one kid in my elementary school's pilot program learning basic programming language. And I took the turtle and I wrote the code so that it made a little rocket ship. And then the rocket ship took off. And then I was like, this is pretty boring. I don't want to do it anymore. And now I want to die.
Now he's like, where's my YouTube idea? So
Oh God, I'm getting hot. I'm like, come on.
yeah, but like, look at that. We are now in such a great time where so many opportunities and so many ideas and there's so many things, right? You have a experience of people of what it's like to be in a regular university. I have experience of doing stuff online. Maybe we can create the next learning platform for people with augmented reality and fun stuff. Paul is like, I passed my time. So I just want to say hi to those who are watching us on LinkedIn. And this is, let me see, we have Saika, I hope I'm saying your name right. And John Duncan, thank you for the like. And Douglas actually watched us yesterday and shared with me the Hump Day commercial that we talked about yesterday. So I'm like, hey,
That's awesome.
Hump Day. So now I can see this. So that's super cool. And Amy Lawrence, thank you for the like. And Holly Bass, thank you for the like. So guys, if you want to hop in, this is it. Come on in and say hi and we'll meet you face to face and let's talk about
Yeah, because now we're talking about the real deal, right?
talk about the real deal. And the real deal is this one. How I get out of my own way. So Paul, you started with, you had a story of, I think, clients of yours that are getting stuck. And then we kind of morphed into like, oh yeah, there are many.
Well, yeah. So it was again our kind of ongoing conversation about my small business mentorship program, and and how wonderful that is, and I'm loving it so much. One of the natural aspects of it is you end up, if people are asking for mentorship, it's because on some level they recognize that their business isn't where they want it to be, right? So as you start to explore that and figure that out, it always comes down to having them identify, excuse me, some way in which they're stuck or hung up on something. And that, that always really ends up being some kind of self-imposed blockage. It's never really something it feels often authentically as if it's something truly outside of themselves, but it never is. It never really is.
So when people say like, I am, I can do this, or, like, oh, this is fantastic, but they're kind of blockage. How do you help them through that process?
It's a great question. So, there's a few things. I think one is you have to you have to get them to further define what the actual limiting belief is there, right?
Yep.
So what tends to happen is they'll start to clue you in that they have one through the way their voice tone changes or their language changes or their body language, if you can see them on a call. But ultimately it's at least slightly, and sometimes much more detailed, but at least slightly more detailed belief that you need to get them to flesh out, right?
Yeah.
And so like right now, this in my small business mentorship, one of the most common ones is I'm just not good with technology. I just really struggle with technology. And here they are signing up for a small business thing where I'm going to ask them to work with Google Drive and do a lot of tech stuff and create their own videos and so I say one of my ground rules when we start is like, okay, listen, you just can't say that anymore. And more importantly, you really can't believe it. Like, you can change it. And this is one of the ways in which I help them get unstuck is you can just use a simple language hack, which is up until now.
Right.
Up until now, I've struggled with technology, but you can't say I suck at technology anymore. Because if you do, you're just keeping it going. You
Yep.
know, you can't wait for some magical moment in which you prove that you are and then stop saying it. You have to stop saying it and then become that new version of yourself. Does that make sense?
Totally. And so what's interesting is like, you know, up until the moment that you actually do it, it's very hard to see yourself doing it. And, you know, I've been doing live streaming forever, before it was cool. And so for me, it's very easy to forget how, like, the butterflies at the beginning of like, oh my God, we're going live. And what if I'm going to mess up? And, you know, I had like a list of questions that I would ask people before I was like, I'm just going to talk like what we're doing right now, right? And so it's very hard for me to remember how I felt 10 years ago, because now it's natural. So in a way, I'm like, guys, come on, just pull up your phone and just do this. It's so easy. Look, we can just talk. But then I took Roland Fraser's class of acquiring businesses, and all of a sudden I'm in that same spot where everybody is when they just start learning something new. And I'm like, wow, so much information. It feels like there are so many nuances that I'm still not aware of. So if I'm going to take the first step, I'm probably going to, you know, fumble and fall. And if, you know, we're dealing with businesses and money and other people's lives, so maybe I shouldn't start because I don't know enough. Maybe I should go and study some more before I take the first step. Even though Roland and everybody there say, you're going to mess up. Like the first 5 deals are probably not going to be great. Right? Like you're gonna mess up. And the more I get on phone calls with people and I'm like, how was it? And like, yeah, the first deals were not that great and I messed up and I didn't do it well. Even though I hear that, and even though that's what they're saying, like, hey, it's okay, go mess up because you learn from messing up, I don't feel comfortable taking the first step. And I'm like, you know, I'm just a grasshopper. Maybe I need to learn more or invest more or read more. And then comes along one of the students in the class that has done this forever. And he goes like, hey, I'll be your partner. I'll jump on calls with you. I'll do this. And I was like, oh, okay. So now I am confident. I can, you know, take the first step because there's someone that backs me up that says like, hey, I got you. And if you fall, you know, I know how to help you with this. And so I think like the first thing for me when I get stuck with, fudge, I don't know what to do and I can't take the first step, my first reaction is, let's go talk to people. Ask the same question, like ask 10 people the same question and see what I'm getting. And then see like, hey, maybe there's something that we can do together. So the first step is not that scary. And if I take it and I fumble, 2 things will happen. One, y'all are going to know that I'm human and I fumble as well, right? And I'm going to learn. And then you'll learn from my mistakes, hopefully, maybe, if I share them, if I'm brave enough to share them. But, you know, like we learn through trial and error. And so when I get like my way of getting in my own way is like, it's too much, right? Like, I don't know what to do. Too many things. Where do I start? And then I don't start. I go to Netflix. That's my, that's my runaway drug. So we talked about mentorship before and support and community and accountability. And I feel like maybe that's one of the ways where people can realize we're all in this together. Nobody knows what they're doing, you know, really, nobody knows. We're all testing. We're all figuring out stuff. And
So let me tell you the other aspect of this that's quite different than what everything you've talked about is so true. There's another element of it that's really important to think about is you and I are aligned and you tend to think about like, you just hate the idea of failing.
yeah,
It would be catastrophic, right? There's the other side of it is just as debilitating for a lot of people, which is what if I do it and it goes great? Because if you do it and it goes great, that changes everything.
right.
And people have a natural intuition that they're afraid of what that would mean, you know? And I've seen that time and again with clients across the different, you know, what if I smoke and my partner smokes and I decide I want to quit smoking and they don't, and I actually do it now, oh, I'm the one who quit and they're not, and could there be resentment, right?
Yeah,
Same
oh,
thing
yeah.
with weight loss. I've seen
Yeah.
people before, you know, what if I lose a whole bunch of weight and my partner doesn't, or my family, what if my family's all overweight too? And now all of a sudden I'm thin and feeling fantastic. And I'm a contrast that they don't like to have in front of them on a regular basis.
Yep.
So
What if I make a lot of money and now
what if I make a lot of
right?
money
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
my friends are all like, oh, now
Yeah.
you're a big shot. You make a lot of money,
Right.
huh? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And so the theme that runs through all of that is what we care most about is being lovingly connected to other human beings. And we have this natural understanding that, man, don't get kicked out of the tribe. If you're kicked out of the tribe, you may not survive, right? You
Right.
need to be part of the tribe. And so if you actually do something that's too good, you could shift your status within the tribe to the point that they don't want you to be there anymore. And people are terrified of that.
And it's true, and I think we need to elevate our friends as we elevate ourselves, right? Because you are the, what do you say? You're the sum of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. And so if you want to elevate yourself, if you want to become an athlete, you cannot hang out with couch potatoes because
Right.
they're just not athletes, right? So, and that is probably the scariest one. I have in my in my Israeli groups here in Austin, I'm now like, I've had people call me an elite and like, a know-it-all and, all that stuff, all because I'm saying I'm interested in facts and not in opinions. And we're getting into this big argument, right? And I was like, right, so if that's what you guys want to talk about, that's not my tribe anymore. Like, we just can't hang out.
What happens if you, ever since your college years, like to sit with your buddies and smoke weed and play video games, and all of a sudden you realize, not that that's necessarily judged, but you just come to a realization of like, I'm not getting stuff done that I could get done in life that I want to get done. I need to make a change. And so you stop smoking weed and playing video games all the time. And now your buddies are like, what the hell?
Right.
Like those
Yeah.
are real,
Really
those are your friends, like that's again, it's one of the most common things of like understanding that you, in wanting to grow and evolve, risk creating, you are the one making the choice to move in a new direction. Therefore, you are the one creating the separation between the people that you're lovingly connected to.
Yeah.
And not that it's about blame, but it is about understanding like, so you got to own it 100% and go, yeah, but this is what's right for me. And if that means I need to find 3 new friends to hang around with, then I got to find 3 new friends to hang around with.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. If you want to be a vegan, you can't hang out with people who go to steakhouse anymore, every night. Michelle Delude says, what if it goes great? What if I succeed beyond my wildest dreams? Who would think that that's a threat or a limitation? Me. So you're in a good club, Michelle. You're not alone.
Yeah.
There are many, many people. It's hard. It's tough. When you're a parent, I'll tell you, right? And the other parent is doing something that the kid loves more and enjoys more, you go like, fudge, maybe I should be doing that. Even though I disagree with, I don't want to spend my time doing these things. But my kid seems to love it. And now we have this separation of they're only doing it with the other parent. So maybe I should be doing these things. I came to a conclusion that I was like, okay, there's like Ima time and Abba time. So mommy, things that you do with mommy and things that you do with daddy, and it's totally fine. So if you want to see horror movies, that's a daddy thing. If you want to go swimming, that's a mommy thing.
It's more than fine, Ifat. Like why should we all be the same or have the same relationship dynamics? I would say it's beautiful to think that a child can have one activity with one parent, but a different activity with another parent. And that's part of how they bond. It's beautiful.
Yeah, but as you're living it, right? So for example, in my case, both my son and his dad love video games. I don't. I think it's a waste of time, right? And I have so many other things that I should be doing rather than sitting down. Because in my college days, we would spend weekends, like time would just fly. We're all like just playing computer games. And so I know what kind of a time suck it is, right? But now he's not interested in doing anything but play video games. And since this is not my thing, we don't connect on that level. And now I have to grab him, get him out of that, and like, hey, let's do something. And he's like, okay, let's go back because I want to go play with my friends. So there's these challenges, but you're right. Like, you decide where you want to be in life and what you want to do in life. And then you find the people that want to do exactly the same thing. And who said that, right? Like, if you want to get better, you have to start playing with people who are better than you, not less, lesser than you.
Not a lot of growth comes from always being the person who wins,
Yeah. Even though we all want to win all the time.
Yeah, we all want to win, but yeah.
But it's, yeah. So we all want to invent YouTube. But there's only one YouTube. Well, there's Vimeo. There's
Well, that's a
Vimeo.
great example too, right? Is there's something to be said for having that spirit of, again, this is not about right or wrong, but just different potentials, right? Like if you're always focused on having to be literally the best, right? I need to be YouTube, then you might be missing out on the opportunity to be Vimeo
Yeah.
and do very, very well,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah, it's a big market out there, right? The like when you really think about it, how many people can you truly support and coach and train? Like how many before you go insane? One of your friends is and now a great client keeps pumping this into my brain. I want to work less and make more. I don't want to be training so many people. I just want to work with a few of them. So that's a fantastic outlook that I love. So thanks. YouTube, first video ever today. Life is changing, school is changing, college is changing. And with that change, maybe you all feel comfortable changing too and deciding where you want to be and not being so worried about failure or success. Maybe, I don't know.
at the end of the day, I always try to remind myself and others of is we are human beings, not human doings.
Right.
And so like anchoring yourself in who you feel you really want to be is probably more important than just judging yourself based on what you're doing. I mean, what you're doing matters, but starting from a place of like loving and honoring yourself as a human being is a pretty good place to start, and then let it evolve from that energetic place.
Yeah, I like that. So, and now we have the time to be and not just do. So take that time,
Right?
enjoy it, right?
How
Yeah.
cool is that?
Yeah, we can be. So thanks everybody. Just to let you know, a lot of people were asking about live streaming, wanting to learn StreamYard. So I am putting something together. Hopefully I'll be able to share it with you tomorrow. But until then, if you haven't yet and you want to learn how to use live streaming to position yourself as a thought leader, capitalize on Cialdini's 6 principles of influence so that when you go live, people say yes to you. This is the place, viralconnectivity.com/influence. It's a completely free 3-day event where you can learn anything you need to learn about live streaming. So hop on in, enjoy. I believe this is happening this weekend, the 28th or the 30th. So check the dates, hop on in, and we'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow.